I welcome you all for the online class of economics. As we started microeconomics theory of demand chapter, let us see what do you mean by theory of demand. In the last class we have already completed meaning of theory of demand, means how the study is made related to demand, how the way the demand increase and decrease, what is the demand, what is you mean by quantity demanded, all the concept we have learned. Today we will be going to learn with some of the concept, the functions of functions of demand. For that, we already started demand function and or determinants of demand there. It will be started today. Before that, we already completed, means somewhat we completed from that only. That is demand schedule and demand curve. We already completed in the last class. If you have understood the demand schedule and demand curve, it will be easy for me to make you understand the next function, that is demand function or determinants of demand, student. When we go with the demand function or determinants of demand, it says that, student, what are the key points which affects the demand? What are the things on the basis of which demand increases? So that will be coming in determinants of demand. Demand function shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded, between demand for a commodity and the various determinants. Okay, price is one of the determinant. Prices, here we will be going to learn in the future the own price of goods as well as competitors' price. Both are having an effect on demand. Let us have the continuation starting demand function or determinants of demand. When we say, student, demand function shows the relationship between the demand of a commodity and its various determinants. It shows how demand for a commodity is related to, say, or price of the commodity or income of the consumer or other determinants. Corresponding to two aspects of demand, which individual demand and market demand, we have two types of demand function. Individual demand, when we see, once again I want to remind you, when we are when we are studying or learning about one person's demand, how the person demand according to the income, how the person demands for a commodity, it is known as individual demand. Because as per the income, that way only he will allocate the prices of the goods according to the quantity demanded. So let us proceed with the same topic once again. So here it is same said, say, or price of the commodity or income of the consumer or other determinant. There are so many determinants on the basis of which demand makes. When the income of the people increases, demand increases. When price of the commodities goes down, then demand increases. When there is a standardized product in the market, then according to the price, the demand increases. There are so many determinants that are itself known as the determinant. The factors on the basis of which customer decide what must be the demand of a particular commodity itself is known as determinants of demand. I think it is clear. Determinants of demand are the factors on the basis of which demand is formed by the consumer. It is known as determinants of demand. These determinants, one by one, we will be going to learn. Very first, individual demand function, and second, market demand function. Individual demand function, as I say, introduce you now itself. When one customer study we are doing related to demand, it is known as individual demand function. Individual demand function shows how demand for a commodity by an individual consumer in the market is related to its various determinants. It is expressed as under. What the things are there? Very first, dx equals to f into px, pr, y, t, e. This is known as demand of x. Okay. So factor, f is the factor. ds, demand of x product. F is the factor. Px is the own price of the commodity. PR is the related price of the commodity, means related products are there in the market, like Pepsi is there, Coca-Cola is there. Pepsi company related product is Coca-Cola. So that product, related product. Y is the income of the person, T is the taste, and E is the expectations, consumer expectation. These are the 5 factors on the basis of which demand function can be learned. Let us see the demand function more clearly. Very first, own price of the commodity. When we go with the own price of commodity, students, other things being equal, With the rise in own price of the commodity, demand for the product decreases. Contradicts. Itself is known as contradict. Contradict means when there is a increase in the price of commodity, what will happen? People will purchase less. Means demand contradict itself. Okay. When the price of the commodity decreases, falls, demand for the product increases. It means it extends. So there is a inverse relationship between own price of the commodity and its demand. And this thing itself is known as law of demand. Law of demand states that it's the same. So what is the law of demand? The law of demand states the inverse relationship between own price of the commodity and the quantity demanded. When the price of the commodity increases, demand for the commodity decreases. When the price of the commodity falls down, the demand for the commodity increases. So that is the relationship known as law of demand. First factor of demand function, that is own price of commodity. Second is price of related goods. Demand for a commodity is also influenced by the change in price of related goods. These are of two types. Very first, substitute goods. Second, complementary goods. There are two types of related goods today. One is supplementary, one is complementary. Substitute goods, when we say not supplementary, it's the substitute goods. Substitute means in place of that we can place something. It is known as substitute. Okay, like people don't want to drink the cold drinks now. In place of cold drink, they had substituted with the juice, fruit juice. Healthy drinks are there that they have substituted. It is known as substitute goods. These are the goods which can be substituted for each other, such as tea and coffee, or ball pen and ink pen. In case of such goods, increase in price of one causes increase in demand for the other. Okay, increase in price of one causes increase in demand of other product. How it will be happening? Like example, winter season is going to come. Now coffee price will increase because people will prefer to have coffee. Tea price is constant there. No changes in the price of tea. Those who are daily consuming the coffee, they will substitute their habit of drinking coffee to tea because the price of coffee has been increased. So now if they are not able to demand for it, then they will substitute their habit from coffee to tea. This happens in some of the cases where the people is ready to substitute. Okay, maximum people is habitual of this. They substitute the things. Means if the thing become costly for them, they go with another product. So that is a substitute goods. Ball pen and ink pen. If ball pen rate is high, definitely people will purchase ink pen. So if the one of the product price increases, people make the demand of another product increase. Okay, not the price, demand of the another product increases. That is known as the substitute goods. Increase in price of coffee, for example, will increase the demand for tea. The consumer will shift from the consumption of coffee to the consumption of tea. Okay. Now the next is the complementary goods. When we go to the complementary goods, students, what is complementary goods? Complementary goods are those goods which are pair, like for example, ball pen and refill. Okay, ink pen and the ink. There are the complementary goods. When price of one goods increases, it affects the sale of another goods also. Like for example, if ball pen rate increases, definitely people will shift their demand from ball pen to ink pen. And definitely when ball pen demand will decrease, the demand for refill also will decrease. Okay, have you understood what I want to explain? Complementary goods are those goods which are sold together, which complete the demand for each other, you can say, and are therefore demanded together. Like pen and the ink, as I said, bread and butter. Like for example, when the bread rate increases, definitely if butter rate also is not increasing, then also it will be affecting the sale of the butter, because people will demand less the bread, and bread is when bread is consumed, then only butter will be consumed. So demand for butter also will be decreased. So complementary goods, our relationship is like that. One goods price and demand will affect the another. Okay, and they are complete for each other. So there are the complementary goods today. Pen and ink, bread and butter may be cited as examples. In case of complementary goods, a fall in the price of one causes increase in the demand of the other, and a rise in the price of one causes decrease in the demand for the other. For example, when the price of fountain pen rises, a demand will fall. As a result, demand for ink will also fall. Okay. Conversely, if the price of fountain pen falls, its demand will rise. Also will rise the demand for ink. So that are the complementary goods, students. As I think it is clear, fountain pen rises, price of fountain pen if increases, definitely demand will fall. As a result, demand for ink also falls down, because ink cannot be utilized without the fountain pen. Income of the consumer, students. Here one more thing is there. How do we distinguish between related goods and unrelated goods? Goods are said to be related when demand for one changes in response to change in the price of other. For example, increase in the price of coffee is expected to cause increase in demand for tea. So tea and coffee are related goods. Goods are unrelated when demand for one is independent of any change in price of the other. Like demand for shoes, for example, is not affected by change in the price of sugar. There are unrelated goods. Shoes and sugars are thus unrelated goods. Briefly, while related goods show cross price effect, change in price of one causing a change in demand for the other. Unrelated goods do not. Income of the consumer, when we see the third determinant of demand, it states that change in the income of the people, consumer, also affect the demand. If the income of the people increase, it will increase the demand. And if the income of the person is stable, not increasing as per the price, definitely demand will decrease. Change in the income of the consumer also influences demand for different goods. The demand for normal goods tend to increase with increase in income and vice versa. On the other hand, the demand for inferior goods like coarse grain tends to decrease with increase in income and vice versa. So this is the income of the consumer. Normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods are those in case of which there is a positive relationship between income and quantity demanded. Other things remaining constant, quantity demanded increases in response to increase in consumers' income and vice versa. Inferior goods are those in case of which there is negative or inverse relationship between income and quantity demanded. Other things remaining constant, quantity demanded decreases in response to increase in income and vice versa. Briefly, in case of normal goods, income effect is positive. Okay, people shift very easily. While in case of inferior goods, income effect is negative. Why? Because as the income increases, demand for inferior goods decreases. What is inferior goods, students? As I already explained to you, inferior goods are those in case of which there is negative or inverse relationship between income and quantity demanded. Why? Because like in Rajasthan area, coarse grain areas where the people are not having high income, they prefer to have, instead of wheat, they want to have the bajra. Okay, there the coarse grain is bajra. That I am not saying the quality is not good, but the thing is that as compared to wheat, bajra is having less cost. So there the people prefer to have the bajra roti instead of wheat chapatis and rotis. Okay, if the income of the people increases, they will shift their demand from bajra to wheat. Okay, here the people generally, it is very difficult to make that particular bajra use. So because of that, they prefer, as the income is increased, they prefer to have the wheat instead of the bajra. So as the income of the people increases, they shift the demand from the inferior good to superior good. That is the inverse relationship between income and the demand of inferior goods. Whereas when we said normal goods are those goods in case where there is a positive relationship between income and quantity demanded. Normal goods, as the income will increase, the demand for normal goods will also increase there. Taste and preference, when we say student, definitely it also plays a very vital role in the demand formation, because the demand for goods and services also depends on individual taste and preferences. Taste and preferences of the consumer are influenced by advertisement, change in fashion, climate, new inventions, etc. Other things being equal, demand for those goods increases for which consumers develop strong taste and preferences. Contrary to it, if taste or preference for a product is fading, decreasing, its demand will decrease. What is taste and preference, student? Like some people want to have the coffee. If the taste or if the price of coffee increases also, they will consume less, but they will consume only the coffee. They will not shift the taste from coffee to tea. Like in a day they are consuming 3 times the coffee, they will decrease the consumption to 2 times. That way they can manage themselves, but they will not shift the demand, because it is a taste of the people. Taste always goes with the fashion, change in the climatic situation and the new inventions, etc. There we cannot make the demand to decrease, as the demand will be remaining same. If taste or preference for a product is fading, decreasing, demand will decrease. Definitely it will fading. Like for example, now winter season is coming. The taste of cold drink will not be good for people to have. They will not feel good to have in the winter season the cold drinks. In place of cold drink, they will demand more the coffee and hot drinks, as well as the energy drinks they can use in this winter season. So that way they can shift the demand. So this seasonal things also decrease the demand for a commodity. Expectations when we see. If the consumer expects a significant change in the availability of the concerned commodity in the near future, he may decide to change his present demand for the commodity. Particularly if the consumer fears acute shortage of the commodity in the near future, like in this pandemic situation it happened. The people thought that in the future they will not be getting easily the rations and every stores. What they did, they increased the demand of the goods. Unnecessarily the demand has been increased. More than the things what they required, they had consumed. So that is the expectations. These expectations comes in the thoughts of the people, whether we want to, whether in the future the rate of the goods will increase, so better to purchase now. Also, now only the demand will increase. Some of the time this expectation gives negative results also. Particularly if the consumer feels acute shortage of the commodity in the near future, he may raise his present demand for the commodity at present existing price. Market demand function. When we talk about market demand function, student, it shows how market demand for a commodity or aggregate demand for a commodity in the market is related to various determinants. Okay, here one thing will be changing. All the determinants are same. Is it same? Yes, definitely. Owns price of the commodity, has we learned, it will be same, PX. Relative price of the commodity will also be same. Income will also same. Taste, expectation. 2 more determinants has been increased. That is N and YD. What is there? Distribution of income, that is the YD, okay, and the population size, number of buyers. Market demand function increases with the population of the size, population of the things. Like for example, if 4 people were there in the earlier in the house, now there are 6 people in the same home. Now the 2 people's demand will also increase in the same home. So that will the population size depends. Distribution of income when we see, let us have the factors now. Population size when we see, demand increases with increase in the number of buyers of commodity. Example, owing to a substantial increase in the number of buyers, the demand for cars has substantially increased in risen in India. Distribution of income when we see, market demand is also influenced by the distribution income in the society. If the redistribution of income increases, inequality will increase. Rich will become rich becoming richer and poor becoming more poorer. This is for this, redistribution of income is needed. The demand for luxury goods is expected to rise. Also, a fall in the income of the poor people compel them to shift from normal to inferior goods, implying a rise in the demand for inferior goods like coarse grain, as I already given to you the example. So that was the thing for today's class, student. Determinants of functions of demand and determinants of demand. In the next video, I will be going to explain you the law of demand, which we have already learned. That is, there is an inverse relationship between own price of the commodity and the demand of the goods. Thank you for today's class. Have a nice day.